And as Karina reported, their federal judge has ruled that Apple conspired with 5 major publishers to raise ebook prices. Joining us with more on this is Rob Enderle, principal analyst of the Enderle Group. Rob, thanks for joining us again. Let's get straight into it. So Apple is denying any wrongdoing and says that it had sought only to give customers more choice and will appeal the decision. So with this appeal, how far is this whole ordeal from being over?
Well, it's unlikely they're going to win appeal. Winning an appeal is very difficult here in the United States. You have to find some functional thing that the court did was wrong. You can't just appeal a decision because you think it's wrong. You actually have to point to something the court did that was incorrect. And courts are pretty well trained not to make those kinds of mistakes. And clearly none have been pointed out, at least not yet during the course of the trial, that would make an appeal successful. So they're just delaying the inevitable. And it does look like they participated in price fixing on a very real sense, because recognize what they're trying to do was to get Amazon to raise their prices. And that's probably the smoking gun.
Okay, so assuming Apple loses the appeal, what kind of damages can the company expect?
Well, given everybody else settled out and Apple didn't, there's a chance the Department of Justice may want to make an example of Apple. Also recognize that we've often seen the European Union step in on top of the Department of Justice, as well as other states' attorneys general, to file parallel lawsuits. And all of that may happen here now that they've lost the primary suit. So it could be very expensive for them.
So will Apple be required to just pay a fine, which, let's face it will most likely barely feel given its hefty cash pile? Or do you think it could face some sales restrictions, or perhaps a combination of the two?
Probably be a fine. Since all the other parties have settled out, I doubt there'll be restrictions on Apple with regard to sales. It wasn't that behavior that was causing the problem. Clearly, they'll be restricted in terms of colluding with anybody else, but that's illegal anyway. No, I think we're talking fines. The bigger problem for Apple is Amazon is now free to go back to the pricing behavior that they had before, which was often pricing bestsellers below Amazon's cost in order to bring people over to the Kindle. That was something that Apple wanted Amazon to stop, wanted to force Amazon to stop, and clearly that gambit has failed. And so Amazon can drive prices lower if they want to, certainly lower than Apple's willing to go.
Okay, so Amazon can price ebooks lower. They did have 90% of the market share. The court said that evidence showed that prices of the conspiring publishers had increased by an average of 18% because of this collusion with Apple. So this, combined with Amazon, can consumers expect a big reduction in prices?
Yeah, well, as was pointed out earlier, Amazon has most of the market share they want, and they're measured on margins as well. So they're not as motivated to drive lower prices as they once were, but they can if they see people moving over to Apple on the iPad. More important, if they want to attract more customers away from Apple, they are now free to price pretty aggressively as they see fit to do that. So the threat that they represent to the iPad in particular continues and will probably drive, and I would guess will drive lower prices on books and other properties now that Amazon's been free to do that.
So has this damaged Apple's reputation?
Honestly, I doubt it. I think most consumers probably can't figure out what happened here. This is one of those crimes that the average consumer probably doesn't understand, and so I doubt it's going to have any lasting impact on the brand. Apple's bigger problem is still the loss of Steve Jobs and their ability to present new products in the way that he did it, and anything else is trivial.
Yeah, loss of the innovator, that's a big problem. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Rob Enderle, principal analyst of the Enderle Group.